From Wrocław, Poland, you're watching the 2025 European Men's Lacrosse Championship on Lax TV and World Lacrosse TV. Tonight, the host country, Poland, opens the tournament against neighboring rival and one of the gold standards of European lacrosse, Czechia. Hi everybody and welcome. I'm Ralph Bednorchik, joined by Steven Stamp. We'll be with you over the next 10 days, bringing you nearly 100 games of this tournament involving 24 teams from Poland, with the top 7 finishers qualifying for the 2027 World Championships in Japan. This game specifically picked out as a quality tournament opener, Stephen, with substantial knockout round implications out of Pool B, particularly for Poland's chances to get out of the group as the host country.
It really is. I mean, so there are 5 groups. The 4 of those group winners will go straight to the quarterfinals. So that will be the top 4, and there's the tiebreakers and, goal differentials and things. So 4 of those will go to the quarterfinals. They only have to win one more game, and they're into the semis, which means they're into the World Lacrosse Men's Championship next year. If you're the 5th group winner, or if you come second, you have a pretty decent shot at getting there. If you come 3rd in your group, it becomes much more challenging. You just have to win extra games. There's already a lot of games for every team during the week. So for these teams who are, Germany's probably the favorite team in this pool. That most people feel like Germany's the strongest team, strongest returning club. So the Czechs and Poles, huge implications tonight, because win this game and you've got a very good chance to get through. Lose this game and you've got a long week ahead of you.
As the two teams get ready to come out here, a nice crowd assembling here in Wrocław. This is the Olympic facility in Wrocław, and being in southwestern Poland, Czechia, a lot of their players were able to travel over even day of separately, and for the Czechs, a little bit of a different path as a whole, because they did not make the decision to join this tournament here at the Euros. It's early June, so their roster will go through some changes over the course of this 10-day stretch. But for head coach Brian Whitmer, he has put together still quite the squad that has a lot of box lacrosse experience, a lot of built-in chemistry, and a lot of built-in winning from box lacrosse that they hope will still translate over to the field. But box has become such a huge particular sport and version of lacrosse for the Czechs relative to field.
The Czech Republic, probably the only nation that's part of World Lacrosse other than Canada where box lacrosse is the primary version. I mean, the Haudenosaunee, I would say box is probably the primary game as well, but other than that, people tend to look at, when you say lacrosse, they think field lacrosse. In Czech Republic, you say lacrosse, they think box lacrosse. And that gives them a huge advantage in terms of having played together a ton of games, but then they have to translate. Now, the box skills do translate to field, but Poland, probably more of a focus on field, but not as many opportunities to play together. So how does that balance out? We'll see how that's going to work for these two teams.
Poland, the host team, they'll be in the white on white. Czechia and the red on blue. In goal for Poland, Christian Zalewski. He is from Huntington, New York, out of Cold Spring Harbor on the island, 35 years old. He has been a part of the Polish national program since the 2010 Worlds in Manchester, where he has become family to all of these players and become a mentor. And meanwhile, for Czechia, Jacob Malasek will be in goal. He is also a native of the United States with Czech roots. Malasek is from Free Union, Virginia. He was a goalie at Division III Power Trinity and the NESCAC before transferring to the University of Virginia before they found him again to be a part of the Czechia program. Poland spending the previous 3 days here. They got a couple of scrimmages in against England and Scotland, while Czechia, they were able to get Slovakia to travel close to them over the weekend and get a scrimmage in. Slovakia is also appearing in this championship. 24 teams. This is the first game before games begin rapidly, with as many as 15 games in certain days the rest of this week. Greg Majic will be the opening face-off man against Andrej Strieblik of Czechia.
Sure, Ralph, this is field 1, the excise field. You can see behind, we've got fields 2 to the right and 3 to the left. And for much of this weekend, you don't see them right now, but as it pans out after the face-off, you will see the fields behind, and there will be action throughout every day, pretty much all over these fields. It's going to be very exciting here in Wrocław.
And we're underway in the 2025 European Men's Lacrosse Championship, with Czechia winning the opening face-off cleanly from Stříblik, and Czechia getting to work offensively, all that box lacrosse talent. And talking to head coach Brian Whitmer, an Oswego, New York native that has been a part of the Czechia program for the better part of a decade, feels his team's strength is going to be on offense, with Caden Vlasimski, Lukáš Kučera, and Tomáš Notek on the attack in the first midfield, with Matías Knotek, a young player just 16 years old, with Kaden Bartuszek and Pavel Surk running the first midfield, with Zvalewski, of course, in goal for Poland. No shot clock yet in the international game, but that is scheduled to come just around the corner in 2027.
And Lukáš Kučera with the ball led the Czechs in 2023 at the World Lacrosse Men's Championship as a 17-year-old. He was their top scorer. He is dynamite back there.
Knotek, Matías Knotek ends up turning it over, looking for the skip pass, so Poland will look for the clear. And for the Poles, the balance for head coach Will McNamara really stands out, the most balanced team that he has been a part of going back to when he was a player at 2018 in Israel. McNamara played his collegiate lacrosse. He's a Massachusetts native at Division III Wheaton College, and is the head coach again. He was the head coach for the team in the 2023 World Championships in San Diego. Poland on the attack with Mikołaj Śmigel, Lukas Hutzal. Two tremendous attackmen. And also number 34, Tyler Borko. The first midfield will feature Błażej Pruszek with youngsters Matt Dyszkiewicz and Sebastian Drzycki. Feet in front, and this one knocked down and handled by the Czechs. Nice handle and pickup by Jakub Adamiec. And now searching for the clear is Malasek. The starting D with Adamiec, a young player, with Victor Blaha, who is their tremendous senior national team box lacrosse goalie, a defender here in the field, and veteran Martin Hoda. With the long pole mini that will play that spot, and Mateusz Tilscher.
Mateusz Tilscher, who plays for the Czech national team in both box and field, and referees at a very high level. So I don't think he'll be doing both this week, but he's definitely a multi-talented athlete person, part of this game.
Yeah, his coach Brian Whitmer, as I joked with him, he thinks he's actually the best referee in the country. He became the youngest to referee a Senior World Box Championship as an 18-year-old in 2019. A feed in front. And Czechia starts the scoring. That's a feed that comes in for Tomáš Knotek, and it's 1-0.
And Knotek's so dangerous. He just comes out from behind, and that little tuck shot that, he is such a great stick. He's obviously used to a bit less spaces. Again, these guys are primarily box, but you can see he's very comfortable coming from behind the net. And there you're seeing the chemistry that you talked about, with the Czechs being absolutely familiar with playing with each other.
A tremendous finisher that loves to shoot. Joking with head coach Brian Whitmer, he's got a ton of shooters at his disposal.
Yes.
Can they create shots for others? Could be a question for Czechia in this tournament.
And if you ask most folks in Czech, in Radotín, and they'll say Matías Knotek is the better shooter, the youngster, the young brother.
Face-off decided deep off the wing, however, is going to be thrown away by the Czechs. So a missed opportunity. Jakub Adamiec, close defenseman, had it clean on the pickup, but then a miscommunication with Malasek, and then quickly Poland plays it to the front, off the quick feed, off the sideline. They tie the game at 1, picking up an empty netter.
And Malasek hesitated when that pass came and got away from him. He decided to go after it. He had to either go as the ball went, or get back to his net. He chose kind of half and half, and that's what led to the issue there. And for Lukas Hutzal, couldn't have been a much easier goal.
Mikołaj Śmigel picked it up quickly, realizing that Malasek was not in position, and Hutzal of Oakville, Ontario, who played with Poland at the 23 World Championships, played well, 15 goals, 7 assists. And the first face-off win for Poland belongs to youngster Sean Brennan out of North Carolina, a Naval Academy verbal commitment out of the high school class of 26. He's the youngest member of the Poles. And Poland has their first face-off win here with Tyler Borko.
How much do you think they cycle through their face-off, guys? Since it is a long tournament with a lot of games, a lot of face-offs.
Here's Diskevich, who will be a sophomore at Iona College, second-year program in New Rochelle, New York. And now we have a whistle. Procedure is called, and looks like Poland may have had a substitution infraction here in the opening quarter. So we're tied at 1. Hutzal on an empty net. And Knotek on a sneak from behind for Czechia. An important game, the showcase game and the opening game of these 2025 European Men's Lacrosse Championships here from Wrocław, Poland. Ralph Bednarczyk alongside Steven Stamp. So happy to have you with us today. It was supposed to be very hot this week. I don't know if that's going to happen. It's been windy, it's been cold. You kind of need a jacket here for early July.
It's a very pleasant day. I'm sure the players are happy that it's not too hot.
And if it stays that way, perhaps it provides an edge to some of the teams with depth. Certainly the hot sun can wear teams down, as we've seen over the course of these tournaments. Meanwhile, Poland gets in the hole defensively with defenders veteran Marcin Tracz of Warsaw, big lefty defenseman, as well as Adam Tomorek and the newcomer from University of Pennsylvania, Matthew Till. Late trail check comes from Till to dislodge the shot, and the long pull midi that will play in front of them is Bartosz Kanarek, a newcomer to the Polish national team.
And I think that shot was actually tipped on the way, as opposed to getting the hand on it. Did it actually not get tipped on the way? It looked like there was some contact on the ball itself. If not, it was a great check on the hand.
Off the face dodge, here's Kaden Vlasimski. Save is made low on the bouncing attempt by Zvilewski. First save made for Christian Zvilewski. And the loose ball push will go against Tracz of Poland. So Czechia will keep it. Czech Republic, offensively, they're scoring, plentiful shooters, and expecting to have a Canada type of feel. Brian Whitmer and staff watching a lot of Canadian tape. They're used to playing what's called pairs offense, side-to-side action. So much of the indoor game. Skip across, that shot is blocked. Blocked off the stick of Kaden Vlasimski. And Poland looking for the clear. Patryk Wojcik, short stick D-midi back for his second stint. Is able to throw it over the top.
And when you think the Canadian style, you think two-man game, but so far the Czechs have really been doing a lot of clearing out. The Knotek goal came when everyone just cleared out of the way, let him go. Same thing there. They just opened the lane for Vlasimski to come in, and we'll see how much they start sticking around and working together, and how much they're just opening space. That might be a scout that they've seen on the Polish squad.
Now Poland offensively, on their offensive coordinator, Jeff Desko. Much more of a complex system with more depth. There on the move, hitching right, Matt Diskevich out of Kenilon, New Jersey, gives Poland the lead at 2-1.
Actually, that seems to have been waved off.
Hold up, perhaps side netting, beg your pardon. So off the pickup, Czechia on the push. So Diskevich will have to wait. Appeared some of the Poles started celebrating, as did I.
Yeah.
And the goal nullified. So Czechia, with possession, tied at 1. It is a continuous running time clock until the final 30 seconds of each quarter. Final 2 minutes of the fourth. Quick stick across. What a find that was. Mateusz Knotek won across to his teammate, and Czechia able to convert 2-1.
Across to his teammate and brother, as Thomas Knotek finishes that one off, and that is more of the box style, the Czech style that we're used to seeing, where they are going cross field, cross floor, and that's a great shot. That is classic Thomas Knotek, and you can see just nobody out on him. You can't give him that kind of space. The closing comes from Adam Tomorek, the veteran, but Knotek's such a quick release.
And he loves to shoot.
Yes.
and for the younger Knotek, just 16 years old, known for his fearlessness, the Knotek brothers are the second and third leading scorers in what's called the NBLL. That's the indoor league in Czechia. So they are highly regarded as Poland wins another face-off.
Well, the box league. They don't actually play indoors
The
because the
National Box
Radotin
Lacrosse League.
Yeah, but the Radotin box is we're going to have a procedure call. It'll be turned over, but they do play in Radotin, which is an outdoor court, one of the most beautiful lacrosse rinks you will see in the world.
Poland with a couple of unforced turnovers, and the Poles' lone goal has come on a Czechia mistake. So here is Nick Pospisil on the second midfield, getting a run. He's from Oakville, Ontario. He'll be a junior at McMaster University in Hamilton, Ontario, as he is one of just a few newcomers for Czechia. Matthias Knotek. As Knotek against the D-Midi Brennan, getting the shot off, and Brennan closes out well. Svalewski made the save, but a late flag coming out against Poland.
Draws the penalty, but didn't get a ton on that shot as he came across. Great spin move to get it there, but again, taking the hit may have hurt some footsteps as he's coming across the middle.
Man-up opportunity for Czechia. Pavel Sirk will start up top, big shooter with room and time. And Matthias Knotek on the right. And Caden Vlasimski on the left. This one is picked off and taken away. That's Tomarek. Big 6'5" lefty defenseman, but he overthrows his own teammate, and another flag is out. This appears like it'll be against Czechia, so mistakes galore.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen a couple of play on each side where maybe that's early tournament nerves, just a couple of overthrows, the ball getting out. What a pickoff, though, by Tomarek. I mean, that was a fantastic play to get in the lane and then actually come away with possession. Such quick hands, great eye-hand coordination. That is why he is one of the best for that club.
Center officials adjust the clock. Appears we're going to get a timeout here. And Poland trying to regroup with a couple of timeouts and also a near disaster giveaway in their own end. So we'll keep it here as we join you from Wrocław, Poland, side of the 2025 Men's Lacrosse European Championship. So happy to have you with us. The first game out of nearly 100 among 24 teams taking place. Full slate of games tomorrow starting at 11:30 a.m. local time. And if you're on the East Coast, that's bright and early, 5:30 a.m. in the East Coast of the United States, the Eastern time zone.
And dark and early at 2:30 on the West Coast.
Yep. And but so much to look forward to. It's been 8 years. Make that 9 years, 2016, since the last time one of these tournaments took place. There was a European qualifier in 2022 hosted here by Wrocław, but it was not a real full tournament. And 24 teams able to get themselves back together. And now, of course, with sixes, with box becoming even more prevalent in Europe, and now this outdoor, some of these countries are stretched for athletes the way it's been. They've had to make some tough choices.
I mean, for a lot of the nations that there are a lot of the players on both the field and box, and now sixes teams. Some of them still quite distinct. You'll see some teams, the guys just don't carry over. I think part of that is, trying to get the time off work, trying to fit everything into the schedule that you want to fit in, because everyone wants to be part of everything. It's so exciting, such an exciting time for the sport. There's so much growth. 94 teams, 94 nations as part of World Lacrosse. Fantastic.
Poland back to the first midfield out of the timeout taken by Will McNamara with Dyszkiewicz, Rzeczycki, and Błażej Pruszek.
Poles just waiting for their penalty to expire. They're going to take their times, just a few seconds until they should go to the man up.
5-on-5 for the moment. And here we go with Pruszek stepping on. 6-on-5, a brief 6-on-5 will begin for Poland as their first man up. And a keep it in the box. Warning also on. Dyszkiewicz taken out of his shooting lane. And the ball chipped into the defensive end and picked up by Mirosław Rajcon, defender for Czechia.
So, and what a play by Martin Hodania to just tap that away. Number 12, the sturdy defender, who a real veteran And then what a run. Oh, a bit too much though. Matej Krysl driving forward.
Krysl, a superior athlete, might be the best athlete on this Czechia roster. However, he used the elbow and gets called for the offensive foul. So Schmiegel back in. 95 seconds left in this opening quarter. 2-1 Czechia.
We are back to even strength. Interesting to see if the Poles attack here.
Borko from Atlanta, Georgia. Started a Division III program in Colorado. Diskiewicz, both parents from Poland. Feeds inside, Hutzal! There is Hutzal with his second. Lucas Hutzal, just graduating from Lafayette College in the Patriot League, but had a very successful run with Poland each time he's appeared. Got the nice feed and we're tied at 2.
You can see the respect that the Czechs have for Diskiewicz, and that is helping Hutzal, although now it's 2-2 and we've had just one score for each team as Hutzal gets his second, and they're going to be cheering in Oakville.
Diskiewicz with a nice ditch, and great job by our crew to slow that down. Our producer and director, Bartek, that will certainly be doing incredible work over the course of all these games. Special thanks to our crew and all the volunteers and organizers to help put this event together. Face-off win after a big scrum taken by Poland. Final 20 seconds. And unable to grab that there was Matthew Till defensively. Transition chance here for the Czechs. They line up to a 3-on-2. Down low, slam dunk inside.
Great look from Balsimski, as you could see Tomasz Knotek, who has both of their goals, wide open on the far side, and he is using the Knotek as a decoy. You can see him looking over there. He knows that Lukasz Kuchera is right down on the crease. That is such a dangerous opening, but Knotek on the far side, that breakaway, that fast break made such a big difference, and you can see just that 3-on-2. What are the defenders going to do?
Vlasimski making the defender Trotch commit, and a walk-in for Lukasz Kuchera. No time showing here at the end of the first quarter, and Kuchera was just a 16-year-old playing in San Diego. Final seconds here, and now another flag comes out. So after a face-off win by Poland, we're not yet done with the first quarter.
So who is this? This penalty is to the Czechs. So the Poles will probably just hang on for the final few seconds so they can start with possession in the second quarter. Probably considered beneficial, more beneficial than going after a goal here, since they'll be able to start with possession and not have to worry about the face-off. We'll see what they do. They're going to come out high to start.
Lukasz Hutzal away from pressure, and that's exactly what happens. Poland will start the second quarter with an important man up. Czechia in the opening game of this tournament, about an hour and a half after the opening ceremonies. Czechia holds a 3-2 lead over Poland. You're watching the 2025 European Men's Lacrosse Championship on Lax TV and World Lacrosse TV. And welcome back for the start of the second quarter. Ralph Pinorczyk with Steven Stamp. Man up out of the second quarter for Poland. Dyszkiewicz quickly looked to shoot. And Poland with about 50 seconds remaining on this important man up. They had a short one earlier that they squandered. It is Borko looking inside. Final seconds actually was a 30. Dyszkiewicz off to Hutzal. And Hutzal's got the first three for the Poles.
Hutzal just dynamite here in this game. And you could see the Poles really taking advantage. That is why you hang on to the ball and start with possession. So you can start in that man-up situation. And Hutzal, just nobody near him. As it's so hard when a team is able to effectively use the field space the way that the Poles do here.
Matt Dyszkiewicz on the assist. It came just seconds after the man-up elapsed. But Czechia had yet to fully balance up, and that gave Poland just the extra few seconds that they would need. And now here is procedure called against Brennan, against Jan Dobijaš. He's the second face-off guy for Czechia.
And when you watch that last goal, and you see Matej Drisel coming in, that is the guy released who comes in after the penalty, and he was about a step away from getting onto that pass.
A lot of coaches will say the man up, you add an extra 5 seconds to it, or maybe 4.1, depending on how fast the guy is, if he's super, super fast. But Czechia turns it over on their first possession, and here is Christian Zvalewski. Well, Zvalewski's been a part of the program, as I said, for 15 years. He is now living in Miami, works as a coach for Miami Youth Lacrosse Club. 4 world championships. He's the co-founder of the Poland Lacrosse Foundation as Hutzal.
That's an awesome catch to reach out and maintain possession there.
And Poland with Jan Rydzak on the second midfield. He'll get a lot of time. And also, as we see, number 81 coming on in Pavel Sobel, big lefty, 6'4" driver from the capital city of Warsaw. And also number 1, their second youngest player, Maciej Wojcik. They have tremendous hopes for him, just graduated high school. He is from southern Poland and Kraków. On the drive, getting topside, Mikołaj Śmigel gives Poland their first lead at 4-3.
And what a play. They come around, and you can see Śmigel just ducking out from in hiding at the X. Nobody near him. They try to get out there. You can see 2 Czech defenders heading over towards Śmigel, but it's in and out of his stick so quickly, they just don't have an opportunity to get there. And that's, deciding how much attention to pay to the guy at X. Obviously, a little bit more in this case would have been ideal.
Śmigel on the curl cut, plays a ton of box, and also a tremendous student that is pursuing his PhD in quantitative physics. Face-off win. Hutzal takes a shot from Malasek on the catch. And Czechia is able to turn Poland over. And here come the Czechs, leading a 4-on-3.
Big hit. And it's such a risk-reward proposal.
Feed across, and this one cannot be connected. In front by himself was Thomas Knotek for a layup, but the Czechs missed him.
And Hutzal at this end is still kind of holding his head in the offensive zone, the attack zone for the Poles. That's a long cross-field pass.
Poland now with the lead and the ball as Zczycki from Princeton, New Jersey. He'll be a sophomore at Marist next year. Dad is from Poland. Zczycki could be the fastest member of this Polish team. Got the short stick matchup. Dyszkiewicz ready with a pair of assists. And Dyszkiewicz gets his hands free. The bouncer, Malasek is able to see it low. Now, Jacob Malasek is a left-handed goalie, we should add.
And almost a chance for the Poles as they are trying to push ahead, getting a 2-goal lead for the first time. They've just established their first lead. And it feels like overall, those early tournament jitters are kind of working themselves out for both teams.
Matej Kresley able to turn the corner. And Czechia with Caden Vlasimski, just finished up his career at St. John's University in the Big East in New York, native of Dallas, Texas. Matej Kresley, he's going to get an offensive run attacking the D-mini, and Wojcik save made low of the bouncer by Zvilevsky. And the Czech Republic will get it sidelined out of bounds. Or Czechia, as they're more formally called now, but it is also the Czech Republic. Yep, so just so people aren't confused, yes. It is the same team, yes. Same tradition, and explosive offense. Here is the great Pavel Dashli for the first time. Dashli gives it up for Vlasimski, goes to the jump shot, and there's Vlasimski to tie the game at 4.
Getting off the ground to really change the angle on the shot, getting the high to low, but what a play by the ageless wonder, Pavel Dashli, who a great little spin there and passes it out, and Dashli, in his 40s, has been playing for this Czech team forever and hasn't really lost a lot of effectiveness.
Vlasimski, the beneficiary of the slide. He's been playing hurt going back to the spring, but Vlasimski trying to put together a healthy run or a healthier run as he joins the Czech Republic for his second tournament. And off the face-off, and it is Till with the uncontested grab for Poland. Hutzal with 3 of the 4. We are tied at 4. 8 minutes to go in what is mainly a running clock in every quarter except the final 30 seconds and the final 2 minutes of the 4th. Also, goal differential matters. So you will see teams that maybe have a game in hand, but then start to continue to pump in a lot of goals, thinking about tiebreakers too, and it's never too early to think about that. Skip over the top, Hutzal. Trying to get to a strong left hand, does, and Malasek fights that off somehow low.
And obviously neither of these teams thinking about goal differential other than having one more than their opponent tonight, because this is a real battle, these teams. We have is that going to be procedure? It is a procedure call over at the bench. And the CBO is explaining exactly what happened to Brian Whitmer, who will agree to disagree, but move forward.
So Poland has possession back, and they go back to their first midfield. Dyskiewicz, Rzeczycki, and Pruszek. Off the cut, that would have been Schmiegel, and off the overthrow, and we'll get a loose ball push without possession against Poland's Rzeczycki. So Czechia will start the clear. Jake Malasek was an undergraduate at the University of Virginia, practiced a bunch against the UVA guys, was not on the club team, spent a year at Trinity College, very good Division III program in Connecticut, and attended the very prestigious prep school in Phillips Exeter Academy in New Hampshire. And he, along with tremendous goalie off their U21 squad from 4 years ago, Josef Slavik. And they're well stocked at goalie. A transition chance off the clear, and there is a terrific find. The feed comes across, and the finish. And Czechia is able to burn Poland off the clear. It's 5-4.
Very patient for the Czechs, and then suddenly when they go, and just straight down the middle of the field. That last pass coming across to Vlasimski, just the first time they're getting off that center line, basically, it's pretty much a straight line attack. And wow, it happens so quickly.
Vlasimski with his second to put Czechia back in front. Marzec now facing off for Poland. And this one will be handled by Till, again uncontested off the wings. Poland has asserted themselves in the face-off X, but Czechia has been able to turn them over And we're in the midst of a pretty good one. Under 5 minutes left, second quarter, even though it was just the first game of the tournament, but it has substantial implications. A real what you'd call swing game here in Pool B, where the winner is going to feel very good about their chances, especially Poland, to finish at least maybe second to Germany in the pool, be in the mix to qualify for the top 7, to qualify for the World Championships in 2 years. The loser will certainly feel like it's an uphill battle right away.
And there's not a lot of time to think about. After you play this game, you get 1 day off in pool play for 4 of these 5 pools. So they're going to be getting right back to it. There's no time to worry. And you're going to have Germany coming. And that's a tough order to try and make up this game.
Here is Porco, GLE, Hutzal, Diskevich with the roll back right, draws the help, keeps possession, Diskevich, and the shot off the stick handle by Malasek. So Malasek is seeing the ball well as we approach dusk tonight in Wrocław.
And the reason you're talking about the top 7, for anyone who's not familiar with the approach, the top 7 teams from this tournament will advance to the World Championships, the World Lacrosse Men's Championships, as you mentioned, 2 years from now in Japan. If you come 8th through 21st, you go to the Division 2 World Championships, also in 2027. And if you finish below 21st, then you're not going to be part of this upcoming Worlds. So a huge difference, but that 1 through 7. That is why on the final day of the tournament, we have the gold medal game. Before that, we have the 7th place game. And before that, the 21st place game, because those are 3 key qualifying matches.
Timeout taken by Czechia coach Brian Whitmer just to restore some order with his team about to turn it over, so we will keep it here. 5-4 Czechia with 3 minutes and
14 seconds
showing here on the stadium clock. 4 practices over 3 days for this Czech team. They will still have some key players arriving later in the week, but the tough thing for Brian Whitmer is going to be, as they have guys arriving, some guys, because it's drivable to Czechia, unfortunately, because of the late juncture that this was decided that it would be here in early June, they have some guys that have work and family responsibilities to go back and come back.
Yeah.
So he is not going to have his full roster, unfortunately, or his best roster at all in any game over the course of this tournament.
What about as they get into the playoff rounds? Are they looking at those final games where they're trying to qualify? More likely then to have them all, or is there no time?
I would say you may have to ask the family to help you make that decision.
Okay.
But that is the world that these players are living in, balancing so much. And
let's run through our officials quickly. The head official today, Tom Haney. The other 2 referees, Joshua Turner and Matthias Figger. The CBO, or chief bench official, is Jan van Kauvenberger. And the bench manager is Felix Kath. We have about 43 officials from all over the world, talking to James Suffolk from Australia. They're coming from everywhere to this tournament.
Czechia preserving the possession by not going offside. Pavel Surk. And Surk has the D-Midi Brennan. Vlasimski against Till, who gets a jab in there.
They're paying quite a bit of attention to Knotek at X, back behind the net. You can see Tomorek is not wandering too far from him.
Trying to get top side and get the shot off. That was Tomas Knotek. Missing short side with Zvilevsky there.
Much different from his first goal where he was left alone to come out. I think they've made that adjustment as we've gone along in this game. Yeah, the moment the ball gets out to the wings, Timurek is back there watching.
Rangy defenseman, 6'5", lefty, and very aggressive. Now the D-Midi behind against Surk. Surk drew the slide, cross cage pass, then trying to go low to high with the shot, Kaden Vlasimski.
Czechs get the backup, and boy, a lot of congestion, but that is, again, where the box skills come into play, is catching and shooting in traffic. They're very comfortable.
Kanotek will swing. Cirque. Cirque drew the help, and under pressure, rushed the pass, and that's out of the reach of Thomas Kanotek, and Poland able to turn Czechia over.
Kanotek gets close, but it just creeps out of play on him.
Now Poland will try to clear. These have been a bit of an adventure. Zvalewski. Very quality with the stick. Zvalewski, even a candidate to play attackman if necessary, but he finds a wide open Jan Rydzak. One of the great pioneers of this program is Rydzak. He is a gym teacher in Poland, greatly responsible for getting sticks in the hands of very young players for the next generation, as Poland will spend the time out here with 1:10 showing on the clock here, 5-4 Czechia, so the Poles can think about a concept here before they go into the half.
And Jan Rydzak is such an icon, such a part of Polish lacrosse, that field number 2 is called the Jan Rydzak Field, which you can't have a much higher honor than to have a field named for you while you're still playing.
And Wrocław, the town where he is from, there are several Polish players from Wrocław here, and Wrocław is one of the towns that probably you can call is a couple of the cities that are hotbeds for this sport, and we are in one of them. And he has helped develop the youth program in town, thinking about when his playing days are long, long finishing. Congratulations to Jan. He just had a baby with his wife about a year and a half ago. Another is on the way. So at least 2 more that he might be able to coach up someday to participate on this field. But that's what it takes to move.
4 more, and they've got a box or sixes team. They're going to have to keep going for a while to get a full field team.
Yep, but that's what many of these coaches talk about, and the presence here of developing grassroots and how significant it is for the nation of Poland to host this event here in Wrocław, to have new eyeballs see it and what it looks like at the highest levels across the world, rather than just off of internet clips, and to see who will be inspired and talk about this someday in 15, 20 years about when they first started to get inspired about the sport.
One other factor is we see them passing the ball around. You can see from the flags, Poland's got the 2 flags on their bench. The wind is substantial going left to right on the screen as we watch, which can make it tricky on some of the long clear-out passes, and especially if you're going cross-field, it can really have an impact on the ball as it travels.
It'll start with Matt Dyszkiewicz. Played for the Polish national box team last fall in Utica. Was an alternate as a high schooler 2 years ago in San Diego. Hutzal. Borko, as he rejects the screen, now draws the help. Pruszek will recover. Pruszek then gets the shot off, and there is no backup for Poland, so Pruszek was stuck with what to do and what idea. It ends up being a shot that's turned over.
And so Dania that goes, and he's going to go into the wind and try and rip that one down. Odania raced back. He was actually not the closest guy as the shot was taken, because all the poles were up above the goal line and goal line extended, but Odania, a very wily veteran, took off as that shot was being taken and got himself in position, which is a real heads-up play.
Kaden Wasimski, the last 2 goals to give Czechia the halftime lead at 5-4. He's also added an assist. Hutzal with 3 of the 4 for Poland. Dyszkiewicz with 2 assists. And Tomasz Kanotek also with a pair for Czechia. It's 5-4 Czechia at halftime in Wrocław. We'll be back in about 10 minutes from now. You're watching the 2025 European Men's Lacrosse Championship from Lax TV and World Lacrosse TV.
Commercial break! We've been really busy over the past 2 years developing our very own women's lacrosse stick.
We are really, really proud of it. So stop by the shop. We would love to tell you more about it.
Good Stick Co. Come get a stick.
We honor our indigenous roots and international history. Lacrosse is more than a game. We play with speed, heart, and precision. Young, modern, electric, inclusive, growing across the globe. Lacrosse is everyone's sport, governed globally by World Lacrosse.
Good Stick Company is here to manufacture and produce lacrosse sticks locally here in the Czech Republic. Our mission is to make lacrosse more accessible so more kids can have access to affordable, high-quality equipment so more people can play this game and we can share this sport around the world. Our philosophy on pricing is quite simple. By removing all these different logistics and these middlemen in the manufacturing process of lacrosse sticks, we can pass those savings on to you. We can make these quality lacrosse sticks affordable for more people. Good Stick Company is here to manufacture and produce lacrosse sticks locally here in the Czech Republic. Our mission is to make lacrosse more accessible so more kids can have access to affordable, high-quality equipment so more people can play this game and we can share this.
From Wrocław, Poland, Ralph Binorczyk alongside Steven Stamp. So happy to have you with us today on Lax TV and World Lacrosse TV, wherever you are, as you watch the 2025 European Men's Lacrosse Championship. Host country Poland trailing Czechia, neighboring rival and one of the gold standards of European lacrosse, 5-4 in an important game to start off this tournament in Pool B. Poland wins another face-off, and Lukas Hutzal under pressure. He's got 3 of the 4 Polish goals. Had his clearing pass knocked down before Hutzal is able to get away from Jakub Adamiec's defenseman. And a flag is down against the Czechs. Free shot, Dishkevich short side. And able to close down the short side, Jacob Malasek of Czechia. And now we'll check on the latest flag against Czechia.
Looks like Jakub Adamiec going, and he is... Did they? I believe. Okay, now they are subbing out another player so that they can get Matej Drisal in, so they have the 4 long poles.
It's a 1-minute slash and an opportunity for Poland. They're 0 for 2 on the man up. One of them was very short. And one of their goals came just in the final seconds, or the first seconds after a man up. Borko in front, that was Hutzal looking for a quick stick. And Poland will continue back up. That was considered a shot from the terrific hands of Hutzal, who spent time with the famed Hill Academy in Ontario. Been playing indoor with the Oakville Buzz of the Ontario Junior Lacrosse League through May and June to get ready.
And now playing for the Oakville Rock of the Ontario Major Series Lacrosse, the Senior A League, as he has moved up.
Penalties expired, so it was just a 30, so a push with possession on the foul. Here is Borko, and Borko has it taken away. A clean takeaway by Matusz Tilsher, the long pole mini of Czechs. And the Czech here defense will settle in here with Malasek. Knotek with the first 2 goals for Czechia. Then Vlasimski the last 2 to give Czechia the lead. The Czechs in transition have been particularly impressive, and now another flag is down, and this may be offsides against the Poles defensively. And unable to get the shot off, and there's Lucas Kuchera, and now we'll see the Czechs go man up.
It looks like a cross-checking call, which was the Czechs. Several of the Czech players were throwing their hands up, waiting for that call. I think it was just the flag came a few seconds late for their liking, but that call is made on that huge contact near center field.
So Matthias Knotek will start it off. Cirk is at the top. Knotek, Cirk fakes the pass, then looks to go down low, and it could not be handled cleanly, but recovered by Czechia. Cirk, and Cirk's bouncer beats Zvalewski. Or check that rather, new goalie for Poland, Alex Bodowski of Toronto, Ontario. He is in there to open up the second half, but it is Czechia converting. It's 6-4 on the goal by Pavel Cirk.
And Cirk, such a rocket of a shot. Again, you can see the space. It's so hard to take away space from everyone. And Cirk, the Czech farthest away from the net as that play begins. You can see him creep in to get his shot, but he is such a hard shooter. Another part of this wave of young talent. Another guy who's just barely into his early 20s. And they have a ton of it now. The 2-goal lead when not that long ago, the Poles almost had a goal to take a 2-goal lead. They felt like they were starting to get things in their favor, but the Czechs starting to turn it around, or continuing to turn it around.
Christopher Sloma of Poland, native Long Islander. First generation Pole. He's able to come up with the face-off off the wing. Czechia has converted at a higher clip. Poland has had their possession advantage. Diskiewicz, after faking the pass. Hutzal trying to use the Rydzak screen. Give off for Borko. Borko goes to the jump shot. And in the future, he's going to, that's Sebastian Zdzicki that was able to finish. Zdzicki, 172 career goals in high school at the Princeton Day School, finishing up a couple years ago. It's 6-5.
And you can see the pressure coming. Then Szczecinski just finds that space. Hard twister. Rather than switching hands, he goes to the twister approach and gets a beautiful shot, just slipping it past Malasek, who has stayed between the pipes for the Czech as they opted to go with one guy so far, wire to wire.
Off the face-off, knocked ahead by Tilser. And Poland defensively had it momentarily by Eli Kligerman, native of Syracuse. And Poland will win it back on their defensive end.
Almost a turnover as Vlasimski knocked that ball loose. They just weren't able to come up with the recovery, which would have given the Czechs possession on that sort of secondary face-off battle.
Hutzal able to spread the field. And now drop it off for Borko. Poland looking for the equalizer early third quarter in a game that certainly just from the outset felt like, just on paper, this one would be close until the end. That's why we called it such a 50-50 battle that could have long-lasting ramifications. Rydzak with the hidden ball trick, feed across, that was telegraphed and easily swiped. And now the transition chance for the Czechs. Pushing in transition, save is made by Zbrodowski. He's able to make the stop on Szymon Kuchera, the D-mini.
And Szymon Kuchera, a guy who will do that. He plays the D-roll and box across as well. Again, their primary form of the sport. But he will take off and will actually place him forward when necessary for the Czechs. So no stranger to having the ball in his stick. And you can see how comfortable he was taking off in transition.
The The Kuchera brothers, one on offense, one on defense. Rzeczycki, draw and dump. Diskiewicz finding Hutzal on the curl, and Hutzal missed a quality chance. Malasek was able to fight that off, and ball will be awarded to Czechia.
Diving attempt by the pole to try and get possession, as you saw, but it's going to be thrown up and almost gets away. But the backup there from Kuchera allows the Czechs to retain possession, and they're going to settle things down a bit after that scramble. Again, no shot clock yet in international lacrosse. It is coming. It has been voted in, but will not take effect until next year.
Kaden Bartuszek, skip pass and the rip. Well, that skip pass has been deadly. Kaden Vlasimski again.
Yeah, the Czechs really employing an east to west approach and moving the defense across, moving the goaltender across, and that, of course, now Zaborowski coming in, and he is facing this rip. But you can see three defenders kind of collapsing there onto Kaden Bartuszek, and he just waits very patiently for them to get close and then flips it over. And look at how open Vlasimski is there. There's nobody within 4 steps of him.
It was a lost spring season for Kaden Vlasimski. Got in just 3 games at St. John's, fighting back from injury to just graduate and finish out his career on his own terms. 3 games, a goal and 4 assists. Did not make his first appearance since early April for the Red Storming Queens.
With the holding call transgression on the face-off, the Czechs with the ball and the chance to establish the first 3-goal lead of the game, which feels huge at this moment because it's been such a close battle.
Knotek, Matias Knotek, tall, rangy lefty. Vlasimski back for Knotek, who identifies his matchup in Wojcik. Off the skip, back for Vlasimski. And it certainly feels like a critical possession for both sides that could tell the tale for the rest of this one. Cirk, feed inside, the skip across. Vlasimski buries it from tight quarters. What a sweep that was on that pass. And Vlasimski caught the ball perhaps 6 yards out and was able to stuff it.
And Vlasimski was up high, drifts down, and had to actually motion to Matias Knotek to go up and cover the top of that ball. Again, east to west, east to west. The Czechs really employing those passes across, and it is so difficult for the Poles to cover it. You see it's Thomas Knotek ripping it across. He had the first couple of goals for the Czechs, and that low to low. Normally you want to change the plane, but boy, if you can shoot that precisely, that's not so bad.
Pavel Cirk made the skip pass on the assist. And then the call against Poland off the faceoff. So Czechia in control here after Rzeczycki made it a 1-goal game at 6-5. And Poland has just struggled in getting continuity in their possessions.
Real run for this Czech club. And you can feel the Poles a little back on their heels, and the Czechs are just smelling blood in the water.
Nick Pospisil. And Pospisil trying to fight through Chris Sloma. Pospisil shakes off the trail check, then has the ball dislodged with a late flag coming out against Poland, and a second flag perhaps coming out for a little extra.
Yeah, and heading down and falling to the turf there was Pospisil. And he took a while. He is back up, getting a few pats from Knotek and his other teammates. And the officials having a discussion whenever that second flag goes up. You're going to have that talk about what are the calls going to be adjudicated here. And what a huge moment, as you said, an 8-5 lead. And remember, it was 4-3 for Poland when McCoy Schmiegel scored about just 2.5 minutes into the second quarter. And since then, it's really, I mean, it's a 5-1 score for Czech Republic, and they are asserting their will as the game goes on.
Did not catch the signal over to the scores table what this is, but there's only one foul against Poland. That's against Sloma. So we'll have 6-on-5. Sloma is the lone player sitting over in the box on the chair.
So it's not the initial hit, because the initial hit did come from Marcin Trach. Yeah, it's the trail check you can see.
4 more minutes, end of the third quarter.
Vlasimski has already added 2 more here in the third quarter.
It's an unnecessary roughness call at 1 minute.
The crease man, Caden Bartuszek, 14 in red, plants himself there. Vlasimski to his left, and he is shooting the heck out of the ball today. 3 straight for Vlasimski, 5 for the game, 9-5 Czechia. This is a man-up goal for the Czechs to put them up 4.
And Vlasimski just looking so comfortable, and I believe the Poles are taking a timeout here to try and pull things back together. We talked about how important this game is in terms of the seeding, in terms of where you're going to finish in the group, and how that impacts your chances to move on. Just a recap for everyone, the top 7 teams from this tournament will go to the Division I World Lacrosse Men's Championship in 2027 in Japan. Teams 8 through 21 will go to the Division II World Championship. That will be the same year, no site determined yet, partially because you're going to want to have a team that's playing hosting that tournament, and we don't know yet who those teams will be. The teams that are in that sort of 6 through 10 range are going to be battling, trying to get there. It's that 7th place game will be such a battle and so important, and you're either going to be a team that gets to the Worlds and gets to go and be a part of that big show, or you're going to be a pretty big fish in the secondary pond of the Division II Championship.
And the World Championships will be hosted by Japan in 2027. Looking forward to seeing what that will be like. I'm sure that they are very deep into preparations for that, particularly with the sudden accelerated rise of Japan men's and women's lacrosse
in all disciplines.
Yep. Of course, that's exactly right, Stephen. In all disciplines, where they are now a perhaps true challenger to medal moving forward in World Championships and beyond.
And that will be the first time when we hit 2027 that a nation will have hosted the women's and men's World Lacrosse Box or Field Championships in consecutive years. Japan really putting the infrastructure together and the organization, and you see it the way that their teams play. They play a very exciting game, and it's an exciting time in Japan and all of the Asia-Pacific region.
Brennan wins the face-off, but Vlasimski dislodges it, and as Brennan is angled out of bounds, and the call will be against Vlasimski for running him out.
And this is the first of 4 continental qualifying tournaments or continental championships that will determine the qualifiers for the Worlds. There's the African, the Asia Pacific, and the Pan Am or Pan American as well. So 7 teams from here, and you can go to worldlacrosse.sport and check out all the details of how the regions progress to those championships.
And the aggressive riding by Czechia has continued. They just rode Sebastian Zachitsky out of bounds.
Timeout, Poland.
Well, I saw them pointed over to Czechia, but now Poland and head coach Will McNamara will spend the time out here to try to get his team going with some upward trajectory. But for Will McNamara, he's the high school head coach over at York High School in Maine. His mom is Polish. And he's got a team that's played in most of the tournament's training camps together, so they're very cohesive, excited about that. They scrimmage both England and Scotland against Scotland, who's typically been a Pool B type program in the World Championships. They won 7-5, and England, they lost just 8-4. They had 2-a-days from Saturday through Tuesday. They like their depth, and they're anxious to see how they measured up to what is a gold standard, if not the gold standard, in terms of total lacrosse in Czechia tonight.
And that's, you talk about a couple of scrimmages, several practices, and it's such a balancing act for these teams. They come together, they don't get together very often. They want to maximize their time on the field, their time together, and you want to balance that with, it's a long tournament. You play a lot of games through the course of 10 days. How much is too much, right? I mean, but there's so much benefit to getting those practices and getting those scrimmages. And then, so you come in and you're, as much as this is the first game of the tournament, they have had those opportunities to play together in the past 3 days, I guess, they've been doing the scrimmaging. Actually, is it just the past 2 days? Most of the scrimmages have been this week. Here we are Wednesday. It's been Monday and Tuesday.
Poland did keep possession, so Will McNamara was granted the timeout before Zhachitsky was ridden out of bounds. So here is Matt Duszkiewicz. Parents Tomek and Justyna, both born in Poland, now business owners in the New York, New Jersey area. Duszkiewicz. Gets away from the trail check by Adamiec. Hutzal has 3 of the 5 for Poland. And veteran Martin Hodan, with his experience, he's the lone returning starter for Brian Whitmer, feeling they're very young, particularly on the back end at close defense and at pole, entering this tournament. And when you factor in the Czech Republic, a lot of quality, but also stretched now with the addition of sixes, as we've talked about with box, field, and sixes. You just can't have the same 20 guys or so fill out every roster. It's just not feasible, just not logistically possible that way.
I'll tell you, you watch the Czechs, you go over to Radotín and you watch the Ants play box lacrosse, you watch everyone playing field, and they have just wave after wave of player coming. It's such a huge sport in Czech Republic, and they seem to be poised, maybe more than anyone in this European Championship, to keep filling spots on the roster.
Duszkiewicz drew the slide. Rydzak looks to the backside. Zhachitsky goes to a twisting shot. Race to the corner for backup. And it'll stay with Poland with 45 seconds and counting remaining. Third quarter.
Maybe the first force we've seen from Poland. And that's a factor. Again, you're down by 4. You've got 15 plus minutes to go and some ground to make up.
Schmiegel drew an aggressive slide. Backside hitch. Zhachitsky gets himself through, and coming out to take away the angle is Malasek. And Malasek will pin it to the ground. And been impressed tonight with Jacob Malasek, the new goalie for Czechia. And he has made some great decisions, aside from the turnover that led to the first goal for Poland, yes, which was an empty netter. Aside from that, as the transition here from Mate Kresle.
You can see how aggressive Malasek is as well. We saw the one earlier, he came in and made the big hit. And there's a rip from downtown by who else?
Oh, Kaden Vlasimski. This is his night in Poland. He is stinging the ball now from distance. 6 for Vlasimski.
Including the last 4 in the game. And when you look at, a 5-goal lead now, what a huge factor he has been in this Czech lead. And boy, it's just, the Poles are trying so hard to cover everyone, and he's just, that one he just rips from downtown.
In this first game, Kaden Vlasimski has by far outscored his entire output from the spring at St. John's. What a difference a few more months make, as he was dealing with injury, decided to just play out the rest of his spring year, graduated St. John's rather than maybe take the red shirt. But that is a rip from distance.
The back foot behind the restraining line as he starts to step in, and still on the restraining line as he lets that ball go, or just coming off as he's letting it go. So, as a team Poland, trying to be very patient but also realizing they've got to go. Meanwhile, the Czechs, who you'd think would take their time, not be in a rush to shoot, they are going to.
That's the end of 3 quarters. Czechia has expanded to 10-5 as we head to the 4th on Lax TV and World Lacrosse TV. And welcome back to Wrocław, Poland for the start of the 4th quarter. For the Men's European Lacrosse Championship, Christopher Sloma off the wing again for the Poles, able to win the faceoff that was taken by Brennan against Jan Dobijasz. And the Poles have a hill to climb against Czechia. 10-5 Czechia. Poland once led 4-3 midway through the 2nd quarter.
And then
it was just
Caden
a 5-4 game.
happened.
Yep, and then Caden Vlasimski has come up with what might end up being the best shooting performance of the tournament in game 1. It'll be difficult to top this. He's got 6 of the 10.
Setting the bar high very early on.
Szczycki scored the lone goal for Poland in the 3rd quarter. Dyskiewicz. Pruszek. Now room and time to shoot, and Szczycki was closed out quickly. Shot never got through on Malasek. And then this Czechia defense has forced just enough turnovers. Throwback by Borko. And shooting low to high, that was Dyskiewicz. That got a pretty good look.
Mikołaj Śmigel is playing at X. He's back there. And the Czechs really not paying much attention to him. They're pretty happy to let the Poles have shots from outside while they've got 6 defenders up and can get pressure on them. So we'll see if the Poles start to go through X.
There's a shot, and this one trickles through Malasek. Matthew Dyskiewicz. As Poland closer, it's 10-6.
And Dyskiewicz has the Poles trying to get these shots. You can see he's going to roll out on his own and just step into this and let it blast. Very different style, right? The Poles doing the more traditional dodging. We were just talking about how the Czechs aren't really dodgers. They're more pass, pass, pass. They make the ball move with their sticks rather than their feet.
Czechia changes it up, and they go back to Andrzej Streblik to face off against Gregory Mazec, who played at Division I Detroit Mercy. He is a Michigan product in his 2nd World Championships. Till off the wing, the Pole, and Till is going to pick up the call. That's a subtle veteran play. He got in the way of the D-Midi Szymon Kuchera and was able to force the official to make the call in his favor.
Hutzal with a few goals for the Poles is going to try and get things rolling, and got a procedure call over by the bench.
And that is the 3rd time Poland has given the ball away based off of a substitution infraction.
And right after, you can see one of the Polish coaches grabbing his player by the jerseys he's trying to get on the field. Those are just killers. It feels like those have an outsized effect on your performance when you have that kind of penalty or transgression. And the Czechs in no hurry here to start things rolling. They're just going to let it stay down low as Lasimski took it from Knotek, but you can see they've got that man behind the net, and the Poles being pretty hesitant. Now they're going to start to go.
Pospisil. This is Nick Pospisil with the throwback. Lasimski. That time he was closed out quickly, and the first stall warning on in effect before Eli Kliegerman came on at him. Now this is a different box setup for folks that are watching our stream. Notice that the box at the top of their straining line is much closer to the top of the arc of the crease than most fields. And then the box is also wider at the sides. So it's a little bit of a different stall warning. You have to take the ball all the way to the sidelines, but then you might get pushed out by defender too. So it might be the same square footage, Stephen, but it is slightly different, I'd say, for our viewers who are wondering what is this formation that they're looking at on the lines.
And that is one of the reasons everyone's been trying to get practices in on this field, trying to get scrimmages in to get a feel for the specific venue, as you always need to do.
Lasimski diving by the D-Mini Wojcik, and a save is made.
So we have empirical proof that Caden Lasimski does not score on every shot he takes. Finally.
He was denied there as
was.
Poland has gone back to their starter, Christian Zvalewski, who played the first half. Pavel Sirk.
Waves away Lukasz Kuchera. Doesn't need the help.
And they double on Sirk. Sirk lost his balance. Trotch comes over looking for the takeaway. These Czechia players so skilled in tight quarters, so much of that from not just their skill, but the experience playing box.
And Pavel Sirk, speaking of boxing, taking that big hit, falling to the turf, popping back up like it was nothing. He is such a bull. Such a strong young player.
That pass was telegraphed and knocked down by Tomorek. And then interference called against Czechia, so Tomorek, the calls turnover and the pickup. And Poland gets a necessary stop as they remain within striking distance as we hit the 9-minute mark of the fourth quarter.
Poles not really pushing transition even when the chances come. And we've seen, a couple of Czech goals on the run, which have made a big difference. Feels like the Poles much more want to get into their settled sets.
Diskiewicz has had the pull, Tilser on him. To the backside, Prusek. The ISO for Hutzal, trying to roll back to his left, slips down against Tilser. He's able to keep possession. Zhachitsky rolling back right with the overhand rip. Sebastian Zhachitsky with his second. And Poland very much alive here. It's 10-7.
And fantastic effort by Szczycki under some pretty heavy checking as Pospisil is out right on top of him. You can see the heavy work and just slips by him, using Pospisil's hard work against him to really slide off the check as it comes onto him, the check from the Czech player. And now it's just 3 goals. And you can see why the Poles are being patient, because they've got time. Still down to 7.5, not a ton of time, but there is time for them, especially now as they're going to get possession off this faceoff.
And procedure called on Jan Dobijaš for Czechia. Brian Whitmer, head coach of Czechia, has gone between Dobijaš and Strieblik consistently. Both teams have the day off tomorrow. And the valuable days off in these pool play tournaments where it becomes a grind as you go, particularly if there are weather delays and heat that force schedule changes. These teams enter this one fresh. Hutzal finally has a D-midi on him. Gave it up to wing. Diskiewicz! That's 3 straight for Poland. It's 10-8.
The old saying, lacrosse is a game of runs. It is Poland's turn to go on a run. The pressure on the Czechs to try and stop this as the Poles really spreading things out and setting up. Here's this pass. Even though it was a low pass, Diskiewicz comes up with it. What a play by him to come up with possession on the catch. As we take a, when you see the replay, you'll see that it was not an easy catch for him, but he makes the catch. He's got the stick right up by his shoulder. Manages to make the catch and rip it so quickly.
Clean face-off win by Brennan to the wing. And Poland now with all the momentum playing in front of their home fans in Wrocław.
And you can hear it behind us. The fans getting excited. The Poland club feeling that boost behind them as they drive to try and tie this one up.
Borko. And Borko with a path. Borko continues the wave. It's 10-9 with over 5 minutes to go.
And again, just on the run, the traditional dodge as Borko isolates a bit. You can actually see Schmiegel start to clear out. Instead of coming to set the pick, he'll just roll out of the way and try and draw the defenders out. Poles really working on spreading things out and giving their shooters space, and it is giving Malasek fits facing these shots from open hands.
Someday he'll be called Dr. Tyler Borko, a medical student at Midwestern University of Arizona Osteopathic College of Medicine. Face-off win, though, on the wing for Czechia. And Czechia and Brian Whitmer are granted the timeout before the possible takeaway.
What a strip that was. Was that Adam Timarek that made that, or is it...
That was Matthew Till.
Okay, yes, Matthew Till.
That was bearing in on the Czechia players. So we've got a new game here at 10-9. Czechia, a program, a nation with tremendous history. Last time there was a full European championship, they finished 10th in 2016, but they have grown exponentially since. Now in the World Championships in 23, it felt like they could finish. They finished in the top 10 there in the Worlds. In the Euros, 9th in 2012, 8th in 08. In the early days, 5th, 3rd, and 4th, going back to the early 2000s. But with the depth of their country, and they could be a country someday, when you fast forward, that could medal in all 3 events, sixes, box, and field. And aside from the United States and Canada, I don't know, perhaps even Japan, there's a small handful of countries that you could say that could medal in all 3 of those.
Yeah, I mean, the Haudenosaunee have medaled in them all in all the disciplines, but it's interesting the way that the Czechs look to have this in hand, and the Poles with a huge response, and it does feel like the crowd getting into it has made a difference, and they're doing it defensively as well. And that was a great timeout, by the way, by Brian Whitmer, just before possession was being taken away. You could see Matthew Till kind of throwing his hands up like, oh, I thought I had him.
Now Matej Kresley trying to get away from Till. Till the last 2 years has been a consistent backup long pole midi at the University of Pennsylvania in the Ivy League. Now Knotek knocked away by Till, and the pickup by Tomorek of Poland.
Great over the head wrap check to get that one free. And then the long pole running it up into the offensive zone, and the Poles just looking so confident where they didn't 4 or 5 minutes ago.
And they have possession at the 4-minute mark, looking for the equalizer, playing on home soil in Wrocław.
Again, it will be stop time for the final 2 minutes, which is just under 2 minutes away.
And again, no shot clock. And we have a call. A flag is down. A 30-second hold is coming out against Czechia. Nick Pospisil heading off. An off-ball call when Czechia was already settled defensively.
And that's, again, those are the kind that tend to come back to haunt you. It is just 30 seconds, but it's in the far end of the field as well, which means you're saying you get that extra 5 seconds after the man up, especially when you're in the far end.
Oh, what a moment here. Overhand rip. And Zaczynski started to celebrate, and Malasek will scramble and keep it out of the net.
Now, he looked behind him, pounced on it behind him. Was the ball still rolling? That's the big question when he turned and stopped that.
Zaczynski saw an opening. Pretty good look with room and time as we get a good look from our crew and replay.
Yeah. So it had stopped, but was sitting there. So I think Zaczynski just saw the goalie reaching behind him and got nervous, but it had stopped at that point.
Czechia able to transition. Once again, no shot clock in the international game yet. It is coming, though. And starting officially next year in 2026. You'll see it in the World Championships in 27. Clock will stop on anything under 2 minutes. Otherwise, it's a continuous running clock.
And I will just go on record saying I'm a huge fan of the shot clock coming in.
Vlasimski carries behind. Here comes Valesky, a very athletic goalie, out of cage to double the ball. Poland trying to force a turnover. Pavel Dashley with his experience, second oldest player in this tournament, an inspiration to his country. Number 10 in red at 45 years old is on to try to close this out.
And who's the oldest player, quickly?
It's actually Paul Simpson of Wales, who we'll see tomorrow night. I won't mention his age, 47, but
if you were going to.
Right, but he is also still extremely talented. So looking forward to watching him play tomorrow as far as the first full day. The double team along the sideline. And interference is called by the official on Czechia. So Poland gets it back. Unofficial time now is kept on the field by the officials. We know we're under 2 minutes left. We're probably about 1 minute and 25, but Poland turns it over in the clear.
Wow. What a pickoff, but that's so hard for Poland. They worked so diligently to get it back, and we're coming up to the final minute of this game now. Again, unofficial time for us as the official has it on the field.
Dashley drops it off outside.
Lukasz Kuchera looking like a hockey goalie as he went down to make that catch.
Timorik trying to come up with the takeaway. We are definitely under 1 minute. Official time is being kept on the field. I'd estimate we're about 20 seconds left. Cirk. Dashley away from Trach. And Dashley will play it back to safety here for Pavel Cirk. There's the whistle, and Czechia celebrates. They hold off Poland in an exciting opening game of the Men's European Lacrosse Championship tonight in Wrocław, Poland. 10-9 Czechia with the closeout of the host country.
And how about some kudos for the folks organizing the tournament who decided this would be a good opening game. It's a great opening game tonight. Poland and Czech Republic, and the Czechs, as that final whistle goes, boy, that bench, that may have been the quickest some of those players from the bench have moved, is racing out to celebrate with Jacob Malasek.
Kaden Vlasimski putting on a shooting display that you might not see bettered over the course of the next 10 days. 6 goals for Vlasimski coming in the first 3 quarters before Poland fired back, scoring all 4 goals in the fourth and shutting out Czechia, but they fall short as Czechia celebrates a hard-fought win in a true road game. Thomas Konotek would also add 2. Matthew Dziszkiewicz led the Poles with 2 goals and an assist. Lukas Hutzal also 3 goals and an assist among the leaders for the Poles, who dropped to 0-1. Both teams will have the day off tomorrow to regroup, but Czechia certainly greatly enhancing their chances to come out of the pool and get into the knockout round, while Poland now has tremendous work in the next days.
And the Czechs actually have 2 days off, as they don't play Friday either, but the Poles will get back against Spain. That'll be at 3 o'clock here on Field 1. I imagine Poland, we'd have to check, I believe they'd be playing all their games here on the key field at the stadium. Great matchup to start things, and the Czechs are already out, ready to shake hands at midfield. Now the Poles come forward, and again, huge implications as the top team from each pool will have a fairly direct path. The 4 of the 5 pool winners will go straight to the quarterfinals, which means one more game, one more win, and they've qualified for the World Championships and a second chance if they have to go through the 5 through 8 semis. But for the team losing here today, it's going to be so difficult, especially with Germany, powerhouse in this division, to find their way. You're going to have a lot of work to do as the week goes on, and probably more games. One of the things as you finish higher in your pool is you give yourself some days off later in the week, as all the teams are getting tired.
Poland will start that uphill battle coming up against Spain on Friday, while Czechia, they will take the field again coming up on Saturday also against Spain. That'll do it for our entire crew, including our valued producer and director, Bartek. For my partner, Steven Stamp, it's been a pleasure. My name is Ralph Pinarczyk, saying so long and goodbye from Wrocław. The opening game of the 2025 European Men's Lacrosse Championship goes to Czechia 10-9 on Lax TV and World Lacrosse TV.
We have like five plays, 5 or 6.
Okay, I'm here with Caden Vlashinsky, who scored 6 goals tonight out of 8, maybe?
Yeah, I don't know what the number was, but I had fun doing it.
And how do you feel about, you just had an injury, now you're back. How does it feel?
It feels good. It was a long kind of recovery with a lot of doubt. But I've been over here for a bit, and it was nice it'd been 2 years since I've been back over here to play with my boys on the Czech team, and it was just fun to be out there, to be honest.
And you guys really connected well. You had a lot of good breakaways. How's the practicing been leading up to this?
The practice has been good. They play a lot of box. We didn't get too many days of prep. We really only got two or 3 days of practice, but I think we made the most of it. It definitely wasn't I don't think we played a great game, to be honest. There was a lot of turnovers, a lot of, it got hairy there at the end. But I think, today was a good day, and we'll kind of build on that moving forward.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, now I'm here with Erdezek from Poland. Not the outcome you wanted tonight, but you guys did great. How do you feel about the game?
We could start earlier. We could be more focused, dialed into the game. We did some sloppy plays. In my opinion, we should be better on this. We should work on this, but I know we get better, especially that we got a great coaching crew and we got the great players. I totally trust them and I love them, and we gotta get better every single game. It was very close. We could do it much better, especially at the end.
And how do you feel about hosting this event, essentially?
I really feel great to be here, and I am happy that so many players showed up, so many friends, so many newcomers, so many people who loves lacrosse, and I really wanted to enjoy it with them. That's a lot of fun to have that many people involved.
All right, awesome. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.